The town of Crieff, Perthshire, Scotland, sits close to the Highland boundary fault which transects the country from Stonehaven in the northeast to Helensburgh in the southwest. For thousands of years our ancestors carefully sited their standing stones in circles on top of these geological fault lines, like this volcanic dike at Bennybeg on the Crieff to Mewfell Road, picking up piezoelectricity, radioactivity, spinning electric fields, ion flow, gravitational anomalies, electromagnetic emissions, non-dipolar magnetic fields, and, like prisms, transmitting streams of energies across the country, focusing into churches, burial grounds, and strangely, along straight roads, the old straight tracks of pagan times, now tarmacked over into modern roads. This is the shaky town of nearby country, so called as it sits so close to the Highland boundary fault and has suffered many earthquakes in the past. During one decade, around 1830, there were 7,300 earth tremors recorded in this area. This illustration shows just a few of the alignments from the standing stones at Dunranmore and to the east O'Lear's standing stone. Comrie's White Church. You can see the fault running beneath the river, the church and burial ground. The remains of a 4-stone circle at the entrance to one of the straight roads. This is one of the standing stones with an excavated grave at its foot. And a much larger menhir to the east. The Earthquake House to the west of Cumry, one of the smallest listed buildings in Europe. But stranger than fiction, there are even modern buildings which have been carefully aligned to many ancient sites. The Crieff Community Hospital, for instance, in red in this illustration, built in 1995 like a huge figure 4, has its wards aligned to no less than 4 churches, 3 with burial grounds, 1 4-stone circle, 1 standing stone, 1 manse, 1 path leading to a church, 1 war memorial and the site of the previous cottage hospital. Taking the 3 churches individually. First, Moani Church. The northerly central ridge of the hospital is aligned up the path to the southerly cornerstone of Moani Church, the width of the wards encompassing the entire church, and to the south to the Dargill Farm Stone, originally a 4-stone circle, destroyed by the farmer who was made to return 1 stone by the Department of the Environment. Moani Parish Church. The Dargill Standing Stone. The second church is the destroyed Quiggs Chapel and burial ground on the main Cumry to Crieff Road. A line can be drawn up the central ridge of the east to west wards of the hospital to this church, and in the opposite direction to a standing stone at Brevin. This is the chapel. Looking at an ordnance survey map, you can see there are 3 straight paths leading to or from the Quiggs Church, so this must be a ley line to the southeast to the powerful Drummond Castle, dotted line in black, the owners who, at one time, were the most influential lairds over all of the surrounding villages. The Quiggs Chapel is unusual as it has another 2 paths leading to it, one to the northeast to a standing stone at Moani Castle, and the other to the southwest to 2 standing stones in line at Dunruan near Cumry. Why line burial ground paths to standing stones and a castle, I wonder? Drummond Castle, built on a volcanic dike, it was sacked by the army of Oliver Cromwell in 1653 during the Wars of the Three Kingdoms. The 4th Earl of Perth built the Mansion House in 1689. The 3rd church and burial ground at Fowles Wester to the northeast passes along a ridge of the hospital to the site of the old Roman Catholic Church on Ford Road, and, amazingly, to Samson Stone at Kilmahog, Callander. Thought for many years to be a glacial erratic, this egg-shaped boulder, some 7 feet high by 9 feet long, has obviously been placed on top of a 550 feet high hill as a sacred site several thousand years ago as a focal point of telluric energies, and has now been used by some modern architects in the building of Creeth's 25-year-old hospital. Fowles Wester Church, dedicated to St Bean, who died 720 Anno Domini. He was the grandson of the King of Leicester, Ireland, and preached among the Picts in this area. There has been a church on this site since those times. The church is a 13th century building renovated in 1927. The church now houses the Cross of Fowles, a Class II Pictish cross slab, over 10 feet tall. With a replica on the original site in the nearby square, it also houses a well-travelled piece of McBean tartan in 1969 courtesy of the late astronaut Alan Bean, a test pilot in the US Navy. He flew into space twice, first in 1969 as the lunar module pilot on Apollo 12, the second moon landing mission, and secondly, as commander of the accrued flight to the United States First Space Station, Skylab, in July 1973. Another interesting feature of this old kirk is the leper's quint, a window to allow those unfortunates inflicted with this dreadful disease to view the ceremonies inside. This is Samson's Potting Stone, Kilmahog, near Callander, traditionally thrown here by one of the Fingalian giants in ancient times. It was originally located upon Ben Ledi, nearly 3 miles northwest, and was one of several stones being thrown in a competition to see who was the strongest of the giants. Samson was the name of the one who threw this huge rock. No natural erratic boulder this, as there is another very similar Samson Stone near Creeth, 26 kilometres to the east, also on top of the Highland boundary fault. Walking towards Boscastle Fort, built around Anno Domino 81, a so-called Glenblocker fort which were built to contain the Highlands. These forts were used as operational bases from where offensive action could be launched and where supplies could be stockpiled. The Samson Stone near Creeth, schistose grit on top of conglomerate stone. They are very strange, these two boulders. The Kilmahog Stone is 370 yards from the vitrified fort on Boscastle Hill, while the Creeth one is 350 yards from another vitrified fort called Tomacastile. All 4 sites are on top of the Highland boundary fault from which they draw their energy. There have been over 1,600 of these forts across the length and breadth of Scotland. The vitrification has taken place under intense heat, sufficient to melt stone, which is yet another Stone Age puzzle. For further confirmation, there is a badly worn footprint carved on its surface, similar to the one at Dunad, Kilmaigale Glacier, which is believed to be a ceremonial footprint used to initiate the earliest Scottish kings, some 1,500 years ago, as well as a basin containing rainwater. Dunad is a hill fort in the island of Bute, Scotland, dating from the Iron Age and early medieval period, and is believed to be the capital of the ancient kingdom of Dalriata. The Samson Stone is the focus of no less than 29 ancient sites. Here are some of the elements. Clanatompin Stone Circle, Creeth Golf Club Stone Circle, Ochtertyre Mausoleum, Dulhurla Standing Stone, Brayfordy Stone Circle, the Rocking Stone of Glentarkin, not a glacial erratic, but carved from the distant rock face, part of the ley line system. Cultoy megalithic chambered cairn containing a skeleton of a man with an arrowhead on his chest. The Serpent of St Fillan's, another carved boulder this time from the nearby rock face. One of the 3 more modern and beautiful churches built in Creeth, St Michael's. Finally, the plan view of the community hospital in Creeth, an amazing revival of ancient and esoteric knowledge. 2 of my books, Ley Lines of the UK and the USA, and Ley Lines in Earth Energies, available from Amazon. My final book, Creeth's Ancient Magic, depicting over 200 alignments around Creeth, only available locally until further notice.